May 17th, 1943, 13:47 hours, 25,000 feet above Abbeville, France. The air at this altitude cuts like broken glass, minus 42 degrees Fahrenheit, thin enough that every breath burns, clear enough to see for 70 miles in every direction. General Major Victor Adolwolf Hartmann banks his Messerschmitt Bf 109G6 into a shallow turn. 31 years old, 104 confirmed kills, the youngest fighter general in the Luftwaffe. He has been flying combat missions since the Spanish Civil War 7 years ago. He knows the mathematics of aerial combat the way a concert pianist knows scales. Today, the mathematics are about to change forever. Below him, lumbering through the sky at 22,000 feet, flies what should be an easy kill. An American fighter, grotesquely fat, ungainly as a pregnant cow. German pilots have been calling it the jug, the milk bottle, a joke, an insult to the elegant, deadly machines of the Luftwaffe. Victor has heard the dismissive laughter in the ready rooms. He has read the intelligence reports filed by other units. American engineering at its worst, they say. Too heavy, too crude. The P-47 Thunderbolt weighs 7 tons fully loaded. His Bf 109 weighs just over 3. The American fighter looks like someone bolted wings onto a water tower. He lines up his shot. 300 meters. The perfect firing position. His right thumb hovers over the red button that will trigger his nose-mounted MG 151 20mm cannon. 150 rounds loaded. More than enough to shred the American's tail section and send him spiraling down. The target grows larger in his Revy gun sight. 250 meters. The American pilot seems oblivious. Flying straight and level. No evasive action, no awareness that death is seconds away. Victor's thumb begins to squeeze. Then the impossible happens. The P-47 rolls inverted. Not a panicked flip. A controlled, precise maneuver. The big fighter hangs upside down for exactly 1 second. Then its nose drops. And it dives. Not a normal dive. Not the careful, controlled descent Victor has seen from British Spitfires or Soviet Yaks. This is something else entirely. The P-47's nose points almost straight down. The big radial engine howls. The aircraft accelerates with terrifying speed. 22,000 feet. 20,000. 18,000. 15,000. Victor pushes his stick forward. His Bf 109 follows into the dive. This is standard tactics. Stay with the target. Don't let him escape. The 109 is a beautiful dogfighter. Agile, responsive. It has dominated European skies for 4 years. 20,000 feet. Victor's airspeed indicator climbs. 280 miles per hour. 300, 320. The American is still diving, still accelerating, pulling away. Victor pushes the stick further forward. Steeper angle. More speed. 340 miles per hour. 360. Then he feels it. The controls begin to stiffen. The stick that normally moves with fingertip pressure now requires both hands. The rudder pedals feel like they're set in concrete. The ailerons barely respond. Compressibility. The aerodynamic demon that haunts high-speed flight. At these velocities in this dense lower air, the 109's control surfaces are fighting forces they were never designed to handle. Victor's airspeed, 420 miles per hour. Altitude, 12,000 feet. Control effectiveness, maybe 30%. He tries to pull out of the dive. The stick moves backward, 1 inch, 2 inches. The nose begins to rise, but slowly, too slowly. The 109 is wallowing through the air like a truck on ice. 10,000 feet, 8,000, 6,000. Victor can see individual trees now. Roads, a farmer's stone wall. The ground rushing up with mathematical certainty. He pulls harder, uses both hands, leans back against his seat. The stick comes back another inch. The nose rises. The altimeter finally stops unwinding. He levels out at 3,000 feet. His hands are shaking. His heart hammers against his ribs. In 15 years of combat flying, he has never lost control of an aircraft like that. The P-47 is gone. Simply vanished. Victor scans the sky. Nothing. The American dove from 25,000 feet to near ground level, then disappeared. Somewhere in those crucial seconds when Victor was fighting for his life, the enemy pilot pulled out, turned, and escaped. Victor climbs back to altitude, his hands still trembling on the stick. The Daimler-Benz DB605A engine, 1,475 horsepower, 12 cylinders. Liquid-cooled purrs smoothly. The aircraft is undamaged. But something has changed, something fundamental. He has just encountered a fighter that can do things his aircraft cannot. The flight back to base takes 19 minutes. Victor doesn't speak on the radio. His wingmen, two young lieutenants with a combined total of 11 kills, form up on his wings. They sense something wrong. They don't ask questions. Landing, taxi, shutdown. Victor climbs out of the cockpit. The ground crew chief approaches. Obergefreiter Klaus Schmidt, 53 years old, been maintaining fighters since 1918. Herr Generalmajor, are you well? You look. Check the aircraft carefully, look for damage. Schmidt nods, knows better than to press. He summons his crew. Victor walks around the 109, visually inspecting, looking for the telltale signs. Fabric tears, punctures, hydraulic leaks. Then he sees them. 3 holes in the left wing. Small, clean, perfectly round. Schmidt, here. The chief kneels, examines the holes. His face goes pale. Herr Generalmajor, these are .50 caliber. American. 50 caliber, 12.7 millimeters. The standard machine gun on every American fighter. Each round weighs 1.6 ounces. Traveling at 2,900 feet per second, capable of penetrating 22 millimeters of armor at 500 yards. Victor had been hit during the dive. During those seconds when he was fighting his own aircraft, the American had fired. 3 rounds had struck home, and Victor never even knew it. If even one of those bullets had hit 6 inches to the right, they would have punctured his fuel tank. If they had hit a foot further inboard, they would have severed his aileron control cables. If they had struck his liquid-cooled engine, he would have had maybe 90 seconds before seizure. He stands there, looking at 3 holes that could have killed him. Shot by a pilot he never saw, in an aircraft he had dismissed as a joke. Schmidt watches his general's face, sees something he's never seen before in 5 years of war. Fear, Victor's quarters, officers housing at Jagdgeschwader 26's base near Lille. A small room, bed, desk, washstand, window overlooking the airfield. It is 2100 hours, 9 p.m. Outside, the May twilight fades to darkness. On his desk, technical manuals, intelligence reports, reconnaissance photographs, and a single sheet of paper. He had stopped at intelligence on his way from the flight line, asked for everything they had on the P. The intelligence officer, a captain who had never flown combat, handed him a thin folder. 3 pages, mostly blank. What they knew: the P-47 Thunderbolt, Republic Aviation Corporation, Farmingdale, New York. First operational deployment with the 8th Air Force, April 1943. Approximately 200 aircraft currently in theater. Power plant Pratt & Whitney R2800 Double Wasp. 18 cylinders, 2 rows of 9. Radio configuration, 2,000 horsepower at takeoff. Equipped with a General Electric Type B2 turbo supercharger. That last detail stopped Victor cold. Turbo supercharger. He knows what that means. He has read the technical papers, studied the physics. A turbo supercharger uses exhaust gases to drive a compressor. The compressor forces more air into the engine. More air means more power, especially at altitude, where the air is thin, where conventional engines gasp and struggle. The 109's DB605 uses a mechanically driven supercharger. Direct shaft from the crankshaft, it works, but it steals power. The supercharger itself consumes horsepower to compress the air. A turbo supercharger uses waste energy, exhaust that would otherwise be dumped overboard. Free power. Physics exploited perfectly. Victor calculates the implications. At sea level, the R2800 produces 2,000 horsepower. His DB605 produces 1,475. The American has a 525 horsepower advantage. But that's not the critical number. At 25,000 feet, where today's engagement occurred, the DB605 produces maybe 1,000 horsepower. 33% power loss due to thin air. The R2800 with its turbo supercharger still producing close to 2,000 horsepower, maybe 1,800. The turbocharger compensates for the altitude, keeps the engine breathing. At 25,000 feet, the P-47 has an 800 horsepower advantage. 800. Victor sits back, stares at the numbers he has written, checks them again. The mathematics are irrefutable. Weight: the P-47 weighs 7 tons. The 109 weighs 3.1 tons. Advantage: 109. Power at altitude: the P-47 has 1,800 horsepower. The 109 has 1,000. Advantage: power to weight ratio at 25,000 feet. P-1 equals 0.257 horsepower per pound. The 1 equals 0.146 horsepower per pound. The American fighter has 76% more power per pound at combat altitude, which means what it means the P-47 can outclimb the 109 above 20,000 feet. It means the P-47 can out-accelerate the 109 in a dive. It means every tactical advantage German pilots have relied on for 4 years. Altitude superiority, energy, tactics, boom and zoom attacks all belong to the Americans now. Victor picks up the telephone, dials the base engineering office. The phone rings 4 times. Engineering, Hauptmann Werner. Werner, this is Hartmann. I need dive speed data, maximum safe indicated airspeed for the 109G, and maximum recorded airspeed in combat conditions. Pause. Sound of pages turning. Herr General Major, maximum safe indicated airspeed is 790 kilometers per hour, 491 miles per hour. Above that, we risk structural failure or control lockup. And maximum recorded, 820 kilometers per hour, 509 miles per hour. Pilot recovered but reported complete loss of control authority. Could not maneuver. Could only pull out of the dive. When the aircraft I encountered today dove from 25,000 feet to 5,000 in approximately 30 seconds. That's a descent rate of 40,000 feet per minute. Velocity at pullout was approximately 850 kilometers per hour, 530 miles per hour. With full control, the pilot pulled out and executed an escape maneuver. Silence on the other end. That's impossible, Herr General Major. At that speed, the airframe should... It happened, Werner. I witnessed it. Which means the P-47 structural design allows dives that would tear our fighters apart or lock up their controls. Add that to the file. Victor hangs up, returns to his desk, picks up a fresh sheet of paper, begins to write. Combat Evaluation Report. Aircraft P-47 Thunderbolt. Date 17 May 1943. Evaluating Officer General Major Victor A. Hartmann. He writes for 2 hours. Technical specifications. Performance comparisons. Tactical implications. He is meticulous. Every statement backed by data. Every conclusion supported by physics. His final paragraph, the P-47 Thunderbolt represents a fundamental shift in fighter aircraft design philosophy. It trades agility for power, maneuverability for speed, elegance for effectiveness. At altitudes above 20,000 feet, where bomber escort combat occurs, it possesses overwhelming advantages in climb rate, dive speed, and acceleration. German fighters optimized for turning combat at medium altitudes are outmatched. New tactics required immediately. Failure to adapt will result in unsustainable pilot losses. He signs it, dates it, places it in an envelope marked priority. Reichsmarschall Weber. Tomorrow he will fly to Berlin. Present this report in person. Weber is difficult, vain, resistant to criticism. But he is not stupid. He will understand the numbers. He will see the threat. Victor believes this. He has to believe this. Outside night settles over the airfield. Somewhere across the channel in England, American crews are sleeping, preparing for tomorrow's mission, preparing to escort bombers deep into Germany, flying their fat, ugly, devastating P-47s. Victor extinguishes the light, lies in bed. But sleep does not come easily. He keeps seeing those 3 holes in his wing, 3 rounds that could have ended him, fired by a pilot he never saw. June 8, 1943, Karenhall, Reichsmarschall Heinrich Leopold Weber's estate 40 miles north of Berlin. Victor has been waiting for 3 hours. The estate is obscene, 40,000 square meters of Baroque excess. Art looted from occupied territories covers every wall. Sculptures, paintings, tapestries. Weber has plundered museums across Europe to furnish his palace. Victor sits in an anteroom, his report in his briefcase. 2 other officers wait with him. A colonel from Bomber Command, a captain from logistics. No one speaks. The Reichsmarschall will see them when he chooses, not before. At 14:30 hours, an aide appears. General Major Hartmann, the Reichsmarschall will see you now. Victor follows the aide through gilded hallways, past Renaissance paintings worth millions, past stolen treasures that once belonged to families now dead. The obscenity of it makes his jaw tighten. Weber's office, enormous, ornate desk, thick carpets, windows overlooking manicured gardens, and behind the desk, the man himself, Heinrich Leopold Weber, 50 years old, once a fighter ace in the Great War. 22 kills, a genuine hero. That was 25 years ago. Now he weighs close to 300 pounds. His face is flushed, sweat beads on his forehead despite the cool temperature. He wears a white uniform heavy with medals and decorations, many of them self-awarded. Hartmann, sit. Victor sits, places his briefcase on his lap. You requested this meeting. Make it quick. I have the Führer at 1600 hours. Herr Reichsmarschall, I have prepared a technical evaluation of the American P-47 fighter. The threat level is severe. I believe immediate action is... Weber waves his hand, dismissive, irritated. The P-47, yes, the fat American cow, what about it? Victor opens his briefcase, removes the report, places it on Weber's desk. Sir, I engaged a PFIN on May 17th. The aircraft demonstrated capabilities that exceed our current fighters in several critical. Exceeded our fighters impossible. German engineering is superior. Everyone knows this. Sir, the performance data is conclusive. At altitudes above 20,000 feet, the P-47's turbocharged engine provides turbocharged. Weber picks up the report. Doesn't read it, just holds it. Another American gimmick, unnecessary complexity. German engines are naturally superior. We don't need such tricks. Victor feels his patience fraying, tries to maintain composure. Herr Reichsmarschall, with respect, the numbers are clear. The turbocharger allows the P-47 to maintain power at altitude. Our fighters lose 30 to 40% of their power above. Are you suggesting, Weber's voice rises, that American mechanics, shopkeepers, and mongrels can build better aircraft than German engineers? I am suggesting that they have built an aircraft optimized for a specific mission. High-altitude bomber escort. And in that role it is nothing. Weber slams the report down. His face has gone from flush to purple. The Americans cannot build fighters. They are very good at refrigerators and razor blades. But fighters, impossible. Victor takes a breath, chooses his words carefully. Sir, I have flown against the P-47. I have examined the performance data. You have what, been frightened by one American pilot who got lucky. This is your evidence, one encounter. Not just my encounter, sir. I have collected combat reports from 6 other units. The pattern is consistent. The P-47 dominates above 20,000 feet. It can outclimb us. It can outdive us. And it is heavily armed. 850 caliber machine guns. That is 4,000 rounds per minute combined fire rate. One burst can destroy enough. Weber stands, all 300 pounds heaving upright. His jowls quiver. Spittle flies as he speaks. I will not listen to defeatist propaganda. The P-47 is American psychological warfare. They want you to be afraid. They want you to spread panic among our pilots. Herr Reichsmarschall, this is not propaganda. This is observable reality. The P-7's power-to-weight ratio at altitude is, I don't care about ratios. Weber is screaming now. I care about will. I care about fighting spirit. The P-47 is a crude machine built by a crude people in the hands of Germany's superior pilots. It will be swept from the sky. Victor sits perfectly still, watching this tantrum, watching a man who once flew combat reduce himself to a child. Sir, Victor's voice is quiet, controlled. I am simply reporting what I observed, what other pilots have observed. If we do not adapt our tactics, adapt. Weber leans across the desk, his face inches from Victor's. Are you questioning my judgment, Herr General Major? Are you suggesting that I, who commanded fighters in the Great War, do not understand air combat? This is dangerous ground. In Hitler's Germany, contradicting a superior can be fatal, especially one as powerful and vindictive as Weber. But Victor has flown combat for 7 years. He has led men, watched them die. He will not lie to protect Weber's ego. Herr Reichsmarschall, I am reporting facts. The P-47 is a serious threat. If we do not change our approach, we will suffer unnecessary losses. Silence. Weber stares at Victor, his breathing heavy, his eyes narrow. You worry too much, Hartmann. The Luftwaffe is invincible. We have the best aircraft, the best pilots, the best tactics. These American bombers and their escorts are temporary inconveniences. Once our new jets are operational, we will sweep them from the sky. Jets. Weber is talking about the Messerschmitt Me-262, still in development, at least a year from operational status, maybe more. Sir, the jets are not ready, and even when they are, we will not have enough to... I said enough. Weber picks up Victor's report, walks to a trash bin, drops it in. Your report is filed appropriately. Now get out. I have more important matters to attend to. Victor stands, snaps to attention, salutes. Weber doesn't return it, just waves his hand. Dismissive. Victor turns and walks out. The hallway seems longer on the return journey, past the stolen art, past the plundered treasures, Past the physical manifestation of everything wrong with the Reich's leadership, Victor reaches the anteroom. The other officers look up, see his face, say nothing. He retrieves his cap, walks out into the June sunshine. His staff car waits. The driver opens the door. "Where to, Herr General Major?" "The airfield. I want to be back at Lille before dark." The drive takes 40 minutes. Victor doesn't speak. He stares out the window, thinking about Weber's face, the rage, the denial, the absolute refusal to accept evidence. And he thinks about the mathematics. Current Luftwaffe fighter strength. Approximately 1,400 single-engine fighters on the Western Front. Average monthly losses at current rates, 320 aircraft, 240 pilots. Average monthly replacements, 270 aircraft, 180 pilots. Net change per month, minus 50 aircraft, minus 60 pilots. At this rate, the fighter force will be depleted to critical levels in approximately 18 months. But that assumes the current loss rate remains constant. If the P-47 is as effective as Victor believes, and if American production ramps up as intelligence suggests, the loss rate will accelerate. 240 pilots per month becomes 300, then 400, then more. And the replacement pilots are getting worse. Training has been cut. Fuel shortages mean fewer practice hours. New pilots arrive at frontline units with 60 hours of flight time, barely enough to land without crashing. Nowhere near enough to survive combat against experienced American pilots flying superior aircraft. Victor projects forward in his mind, sees the curve, understands where it leads. Collapse. Total. Inevitable. Unless someone listens. Unless tactics change. Unless Weber pulls his head out of his ideology and looks at reality. The staff car reaches the airfield. Victor steps out. The June evening is warm, clear, beautiful. Somewhere across the channel, American factories are building P-47s, one aircraft every 3 hours. 7 per day, 50 per week, 200 per month. An avalanche. Building. Gathering momentum. Ready to bury the Luftwaffe under sheer weight of numbers and superior performance. Victor walks to his quarters, sits at his desk, opens his journal. He writes the date June 8, 1943. Then he writes, "I warned them today. Presented evidence. Data. Observable reality." Weber called it defeatist propaganda. He dismissed the P-47 as crude American engineering. He believes in German superiority with religious fervor. Any evidence that contradicts this belief is rejected as enemy psychological warfare. I know what happens next. The P-47s will multiply. Our losses will increase. Experienced pilots will die. Replacements will be undertrained boys. The loss rate will spiral, and Weber will blame everyone except himself. I predict we will lose 10,000 to 13,000 pilots in 1944 if current trends continue. Maybe more. The trajectory is set by simple mathematics. I tried to change it. I failed. God help us all. He closes the journal, locks it in his desk drawer. Outside, the sun sets. Darkness comes. And across Europe, in factories and training bases and airfields, the machinery of war continues. Grinding, relentless, following the mathematics of its own destruction. July 28, 1943, 11:22 hours. Briefing room, Jagdgeschwader 26, Lille Nord Airfield. Victor stands before a map of Northern Europe. Red lines show bomber routes. Blue dots mark fighter bases. Black X's indicate target areas. Behind him, 16 pilots sit on wooden benches. Their ages range from 19 to 27. Combined combat experience, 238 missions, 41 kills. Not enough, not nearly enough. Gentlemen, American intelligence indicates a maximum effort today. 300 B-17 bombers targeting Kassel. Fighter escort will include P-47 Thunderbolts from the 56th, 78th, and 4th Fighter Groups. Approximately 120 escorts. Victor pauses, lets the numbers sink in. 16 German fighters versus 120 American fighters, plus 300 bombers each bristling with 50 caliber machine guns, 7-to-1 odds, against aircraft that are faster, more powerful, better armed. Our mission: intercept the bomber stream at 28,000 feet. Attack from the forward quarter. 2-second burst maximum. Break away immediately. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to engage the P-47s in turning combat. If they dive on you, go vertical if possible. If not possible, dive away and aggress at maximum speed. One of the younger pilots raises his hand, Lieutenant Dieter Wolfgang, 22 years old, 8 kills, eager, confident. hasn't learned fear yet. Herr General Major, why avoid engagement with the P-47s? Are they truly that dangerous? Victor looks at him, remembers being 22, remembers believing skill could overcome machinery. Wolfgang, the P-47 has 800 horsepower more than your 109 at altitude. It can outclimb you above 20,000 feet. It can outdive you at any altitude. And if you get hit by its guns, you will not survive. One burst. That's all it takes. 850 caliber machine guns firing 100 rounds per second combined. Your aircraft will disintegrate. Wolfgang nods, but Victor sees the doubt in his eyes. The young lieutenant thinks his general is being overcautious, maybe even scared. Questions. Silence. Wheels up in 20 minutes. Good hunting. The pilots file out. Victor watches them go. 16 men. By tonight, statistically, 14 will return. The numbers are getting worse every week. 14 hours, 28,000 feet, 60 miles southwest of Kassel. The cold at this altitude is absolute. Minus 48 degrees Fahrenheit. The cockpit heater in Victor's Bf-109G6 struggles against it. His breath fogs inside his oxygen mask. His gloved hands ache. Below him, spread across 20 miles of sky, the American bomber formation crawls eastward. 300 B-17 Flying Fortresses. Each one weighs 32 tons. Each carries 1050 caliber machine guns. 3,000 guns total, all pointed outward. A porcupine of steel and fire. And above the bombers, glinting in the July sun, the escorts. P-47 Thunderbolts. 40 of them visible from Victor's position. Probably 80 more scattered across the formation. Flying at 32,000 feet. 4,000 feet above the bombers. Pure energy advantage. Victor transmits on the radio. All aircraft Hartmann, enemy fighters high, 12 o'clock, 4,000 meters above us. We attack the bombers only, ignore the fighters unless directly engaged. Execute. He rolls inverted, pulls through. His 109 arcs downward in a slashing dive toward the bomber formation. Airspeed builds, 300 miles per hour. 320, 340. The bombers grow larger. He picks his target. A B-17 on the left edge of the formation, slightly separated, vulnerable. Range 800 meters, still too far. 600 meters, 400 meters. The B-17's waist gunners see him. Tracers arc outward. Orange streaks. 50 caliber rounds traveling at 2,900 feet per second. Victor jinks right, left. The tracers pass behind. 250 meters. He presses the trigger. His MG-150-120 cannon thunders. 20-millimeter shells arc toward the bomber. Explosive rounds, each one carrying 15 grams of high explosive dynamism. Hits, sparking along the B-17's right wing. The outboard engine belches black smoke. Victor's thumb finds the machine gun trigger. 2 MG-131 13-millimeter guns in the cowling open up, heavier than rifle caliber. Not as heavy as cannon, 300 rounds between them. More hits, the B-17's wing root. Pieces of aluminum skin tear away. Range 100 meters, closing fast. Victor brakes left. Hard. Pulls 6 Gs. His vision grays at the edges. The G-suit around his legs inflates, forcing blood back toward his head. He clears the bomber formation. Rolls upright. Looks back. The B-17 he hit is falling. Left wing folding upward. Fire streaming from the damaged engine. Crew bailing out. Parachutes blossoming. One bomber. Out of 300. Then he sees them. 4 P-47s, diving from 32,000 feet. Closing speed, 600 miles per hour. Victor's altitude, 26,000 feet. Airspeed, 280 miles per hour. Distance to enemy, 4,000 meters. Closure rate, 320 miles per hour. Time to contact, 23 seconds. Not enough time to climb. Not enough energy to escape vertically. He broadcasts, all aircraft break Thunderbolts diving from above. He rolls right, pulls hard. His 109 arcs into a climbing turn. Maximum performance. Maximum stress. The first P-47 flashes past. 200 feet away, close enough to see the pilot's head. The big radial engine. The distinctive outline. The second P-47 adjusts. Follows Victor's turn. But not tightly. The big fighter is heavy. Doesn't corner well. Victor reverses. Left turn. Hard. The 109 flips directions. The P-47 overshoots. Tries to follow. Can't match the turn rate. For 5 seconds, Victor thinks he's safe. Then the P-47 stops trying to turn. Instead, it zooms, uses its superior power, climbs back to altitude, where its advantages return. Victor realizes what he's watching. New tactics. The Americans have learned. They're not trying to dogfight. They're using pure energy management. Dive. Attack. Zoom climb. Repeat. Boom and zoom. The German tactic. Now being used against them. By aircraft perfectly designed for it. Another P-47 dives. Different angle. Victor breaks left. The Thunderbolt's guns open up. 8 streams of tracers. Like orange rain. The sound is distinctive, a ripping, tearing roar. 50 caliber Browning M2 machine guns. 12.7 millimeter. Firing at 850 rounds per minute each. 6,800 rounds per minute total. The tracers pass overhead, missing by 20 feet. Victor's radio crackles. Lead, this is Wolfgang, I'm hit. Controls heavy, I'm... The transmission cuts off. Victor scans the sky, sees a 109 trailing white smoke, glycol coolant from a ruptured cooling system. The engine will seize in less than 2 minutes. The aircraft rolls inverted. The canopy jettisons. A figure tumbles out. Parachute deploys. Lieutenant Dieter Wolfgang, 8 kills, 22 years old, shot down on his first engagement with a P-47. 2 more 109s are streaming smoke. One is diving away pilot trying to reach friendly territory before the engine quits. The other is already spiraling, out of control, no parachute. Victor counts his remaining fighters. Sees 11. Started with 16. 5 aircraft lost or damaged in 4 minutes. He transmits, all aircraft disengage, heading 270, maximum speed, execute now. The remaining 109s break away, diving west, running. The P-47s don't pursue. They're escorting bombers. Their mission is protection, not pursuit. Victor watches them climb back to station. 32,000 feet, untouchable. Waiting for the next German attack, which won't come. Because Victor doesn't have enough fighters left to make a difference. The flight back to Lille takes 38 minutes. Victor lands first, watches his remaining pilots come in, one by one. 11 aircraft return, 4 missing. 1 more lands with battle damage so severe it will never fly again. Effective losses. 5 aircraft, 5 pilots, 31% casualties. In 1 mission, the numbers are screaming. 1847 hours, intelligence office. Lille Nord, Hauptmann Ernst Kessler, 34 years old, intelligence officer, never flown combat. Handles reports, statistics analysis. Victor drops a folder on his desk. Kessler, combat report from today's mission. I need it processed immediately. And I need casualty reports from all fighter units in the sector. Last 30 days. Kessler opens the folder. Reads. His face goes pale. Herr General Major, these losses are accurate. 5 aircraft, 4 pilots killed, 1 captured. Check with other units. I want to know if we're an outlier or if this is the new normal. Kessler nods, reaches for his files, pulls reports from a cabinet. Jagdgeschwader 2, June 15th through July 15th. 42 aircraft lost. 38 pilots killed or missing. Another file. Jagdgeschwader 3, same period. 37 aircraft. 31 pilots. Another. Jagdgeschwader 26, your unit, sir, June 15th to today. 51 aircraft. 42 pilots. Victor calculates in his head. 3 fighter wings. 130 aircraft lost. 111 pilots dead or missing. In 43 days, average 3 aircraft per day, 2.6 pilots per day. Extrapolated to the entire Western Front, approximately 12 fighter wings, that's 1,200 aircraft per month. 1,000 pilots per month. The numbers are worse than he projected. Kessler, what percentage of losses are attributed to P-47s versus other causes? Kessler flips through reports. Difficult to say precisely, sir. Combat is chaotic. Pilots often don't know what hit them, but where cause of loss can be determined. He runs his finger down a column. Approximately 43% are confirmed or probable P-47 kills. Another 21% are unknown, possibly P-47s. The rest are bomber defensive fire P-38s, Spitfires, and operational accidents. 43%, nearly half of all losses, are from the aircraft that didn't exist in European skies 3 months ago. Victor picks up Kessler's telephone, dials Berlin, the Luftwaffe High Command. The connection clicks through. A secretary answers. This is General Major Hartmann. I need to speak with Reichsmarschall Bieber's office. Priority military matter. 1 moment, sir. Hold music. Victor waits. 2 minutes. 3. A different voice. Male. Officious. Oberst Mannheim, Reichsmarschall's Chief of Staff. What is the nature of your call? Oberst, I need to brief the Reichsmarschall on escalating fighter losses in the West. The P-47 is inflicting unsustainable casualties. I have prepared. General Major Hartmann, yes, I have a note here regarding you. The Reichsmarschall has reviewed your previous report on the P-47. He considers the matter closed. No further analysis required. Victor's jaw tightens. Oberst, with respect, the situation has deteriorated since my last report. Current loss rates project to. The Reichsmarschall's position is clear. The P-47 is not a significant threat. Losses are within acceptable parameters. German pilot quality will overcome any temporary numerical disadvantages. This conversation is concluded. Heil Hitler. Click. Victor stares at the dead phone, then slowly hangs it up. Kessler watches, says nothing. Acceptable parameters. Victor's voice is quiet, controlled. We lost 111 pilots in 43 days. Acceptable. He stands, walks to the window. Outside, ground crews are rearming the surviving 109s, patching bullet holes, replacing damaged components, preparing for tomorrow's mission where more pilots will die. Because the leadership refuses to acknowledge what's happening. August 15th, 1943. Victor's quarters, 22:30 hours. He sits at his desk, writing his second report. This one more detailed, more desperate. Fighter Command Situation Assessment, Western Front, June-August 1943, prepared by General Major V.A. Hartmann. Current pilot training standards have declined to dangerous levels. New replacement pilots arrive at operational units with an average of 110 flight hours total. 60 hours in basic trainers, 35 hours in advanced trainers, 15 hours in fighter aircraft. Comparison to 1940 standards, new pilots in 1940 received 240 hours training, more than double current standards. Comparison to Allied training. Intelligence indicates American fighter pilots receive an average of 320 hours training before operational deployment, nearly 3 times current Luftwaffe standards. The quality gap is widening. Our pilots are younger, less trained, less experienced. Enemy pilots are older, better trained, more experienced, and they are flying superior aircraft. P-47 Thunderbolt combat effectiveness continues to exceed projections. Current statistics, kill ratio P-47 versus Bf-109, FW2 7.2 to 1 in favor of P-47. P-47 loss rate, 2.3% per sortie. German fighter loss rate, 16.8% per sortie against P-47 escorts. These numbers are unsustainable. At current loss rates, fighter strength will decline below critical operational levels by spring 1944. Recommendation: immediate tactical revision. Cease high-altitude interceptions of escorted bombers. Adopt hit-and-run tactics. Focus on bombers only. Avoid P-47 engagement except when tactical advantage is overwhelming. Alternative recommendation: accelerate Me-262 jet program. Only technological superiority can offset current numerical and performance disadvantages. Prediction: if no change is implemented, pilot casualties for 1944 will range between 10,000 and 13,000 killed or missing. Fighter force will collapse by summer 1944. Victor signs the report, dates it, seals it in an envelope. Tomorrow he will send it through official channels, to Weber's office, to the Air Ministry, to anyone who might listen. He knows what will happen. It will be filed, ignored, dismissed as defeatism. But he has to try, has to document the truth, even if no one acts on it. Outside his window, a 109 takes off. Night fighter patrol. The engine sound fades into darkness. Victor opens his journal, writes the date. Then they are not listening. The loss rates prove everything I warned about. But ideology blinds them. They cannot accept that Americans, mongrels, and shopkeepers have built superior aircraft. Cannot accept that our training has declined. Cannot accept that we are losing. Young Wolfgang was shot down today, 22 years old, 8 kills. Good pilot. Not good enough to survive against a P-47. His parachute worked. He will be a prisoner. Lucky. How many more will I watch die? How many boys will I send into combat against impossible odds? How many letters will I write to families explaining that their sons died bravely, when what I should write is, your son died because our leadership refused to accept what's real? He closes the journal, locks it away. Sleep comes hard. When it does, he dreams of falling aircraft, of parachutes that don't open, of burning men screaming on the radio. October 10th, 1943, 10:34 hours, 31,000 feet above Münster. 3 months since Victor's first encounter with the P-47, 3 months of escalating losses, 3 months of warnings ignored. Today's mission: intercept 350 B-17 bombers targeting Munster's rail yards. Fighter escort, 200 Peeping Thunderbolts. Victor leads 22 F-190 A5s. Different aircraft than the 109. More powerful. Heavier armed. Better in a dive. Still not enough. The bomber stream fills the sky below. 350 bombers, each one representing 4 tons of explosives. Destined for German cities, German factories, German civilians. Victor's job: stop them. His resources: 22 fighters against 550 American aircraft. 25 to 1 odds. He transmits: all aircraft Hartmann, we attack from below. Frontal quarter. Target the bombers only. The escorts will dive on us. When they do, you have approximately 15 seconds before they reach firing range. Use those seconds. Make them count. Then brake hard and dive. Do not repeat. Do not attempt to climb away. They will catch you. Dive is the only escape. Execute on my mark. He rolls inverted, pulls through into a 45-degree dive. The FW190's BMW 801D2 engine, 14 cylinders, 41 liters, 1,700 horsepower roars. The propeller becomes a blur. Airspeed builds. 340, 360, 380. Victor's target: a B-17 in the lead box. Nose art reads, shady lady. 450 caliber guns in the nose will be firing at him in seconds. Altitude 28,000 feet. Distance 1,200 meters. The nose guns open up. Tracers arc toward him. Victor jinks. Left, right. Unpredictable. Random. 1,000 meters. 800 meters. His 4 MG 151 20mm cannons, 2 in the wing roots, 2 in the wing panels, carry 250 rounds each. He needs to make them count. 600 meters. The B-17 fills his gun sight. The FW190's cannon vibration shakes the entire airframe as he fires. 4 streams of 20mm high-explosive shells converge on the bomber's nose. The plexiglass shatters. The bombardier's position disintegrates. 400 meters. Victor walks his fire back. Along the fuselage, into the cockpit. The bomber's left wing. Hits. Sparking. Pieces flying. 200 meters. He breaks down. Hard. 7 Gs. His anti-G suit inflates. Blood vessels in his eyes threaten to burst. Vision tunnels. Graze at the edges. The B-17 passes overhead. Close enough to see the tail gunner's face. Victor rolls upright. Looks back. The bomber is burning. Left wing on fire. Falling out of formation. Crew bailing out. Second bomber killed. Personal total, 105. Numbers that mean nothing against 349 survivors. Then his radio explodes with warnings. Thunderbolts diving. Brake left. I'm hit. Victor looks up. 60 P-47s are diving from 34,000 feet, 3,000 feet above, coming down like hammers. Time to impact: 18 seconds. Not enough time to re-engage bombers. Barely enough time to react. Victor's fuel: 47 minutes remaining. Distance to base: 85 miles. Speed: 240 miles per hour. Time needed: 21 minutes. Margin: 26 minutes. Enough. But only if he disengages now. All aircraft disengage heading 285 maximum speed. Execute. Oh, he rolls into a split S. Inverted. Pulls through. His FW190 dives vertically. Altitude 27,000 feet. 24. 21. Airspeed 400 miles per hour. 430. 460. Behind him a P-47 follows. But the FW190 is heavier than the 109. It dives better. Not as good as the P-47, but better than the 109. 18,000 feet. Victor pulls out. Gentle. Easy. The FW190 can handle more stress than the 109. No control lockup. No compressibility issues. He levels at 12,000 feet. Heading west. Full throttle. The P-47 that followed him is pulling out of its dive. 4,000 feet above. Using its superior power to zoom climb back to altitude. Victor doesn't engage. Just runs. Behind him the sky fills with tracers, smoke trails, falling aircraft. He counts the surviving FW190s visually. 15, 16, 17, 18. 4 missing. Out of 22, 18% casualties. For 1 bomber destroyed. The mathematics continue their relentless screaming. October 10th, 1943, 1842 hours. Lally Nord Airfield. Victor's quarters. He sits at his desk. In front of him, the casualty list from today's mission. 4 pilots, missing, presumed killed. Lieutenant Hans Becker, 23 years old, 14 kills. Feldwebel Otto Zimmermann, 26 years old, 9 kills. Oberfeldwebel Kurt Hoffmann, 29 years old, 37 kills. Lieutenant Werner Schultz, 21 years old, 6 kills, 66 combined kills, lost in one mission. Victor picks up his pen, begins writing letters. Dear Frau Becker, it is my sad duty to inform you that your husband, Lieutenant Hans Becker, was reported missing in action on October 10, 1943, during combat operations over Munster. He writes 4 letters, identical except for names and details, each one a small fiction. Died bravely, in service to the fatherland. Will be remembered. What he wants to write, your husband died because our leadership is incompetent, because we are sending pilots to fight superior aircraft with inadequate training and obsolete tactics, because men like Reichsmarschall Weber care more about ideology than your husband's life. But he can't write that, so he writes the acceptable lies. When the letters are finished, he opens a new folder, begins compiling statistics. June through October 1943. Western Front fighter losses. June 274 aircraft, 240 pilots. July 312 aircraft, 281 pilots. August 345 aircraft, 307 pilots. September 389 aircraft, 352 pilots. October through the 10th, 196 aircraft, 173 pilots, whose total 1,516 aircraft, 1,353 pilots, in 5 months. At this rate, 1944 will see losses of approximately 3,600 aircraft, 3,200 pilots. But Victor knows the rate won't stay constant. It will accelerate as American production increases, as more P-47s arrive, as German pilot quality declines further. His original prediction, 10,000 to 13,000 pilots lost in 1944. Looking at these numbers, that estimate might be conservative. He writes a third report, shorter this time, more blunt. The fighter force is being destroyed. Current loss rates are unsustainable. Without immediate tactical revision or technological advantage, the Luftwaffe will cease to exist as an effective fighting force by mid-1944. The P-47 Thunderbolt is the primary cause. It dominates above 20,000 feet. Our fighters cannot match its performance. Our pilots cannot overcome the aircraft's advantages through skill alone. This is not defeatism. This is observable fact. Verifiable data. Recommendation. Accept that we cannot stop the daylight bombing campaign. Conserve fighters. Adopt defensive posture. Wait for jets. Alternative, continue current tactics. Lose everything. He signs it, seals it, will send it tomorrow. Knows it won't matter. Weber won't listen. The high command won't act. Command. The ideology is too strong. The denial too deep. Victor stands, walks to his window. Outside, the October evening is cold. Clear. Stars emerging. Somewhere over Germany, American bombers are flying home, escorted by their P-47s. Untouchable, unstoppable. And somewhere in England, in factories in America, more are being built. The avalanche continues, growing, accelerating. Victor thinks about the 4 pilots he lost today, the letters he wrote, the lies he told, thinks about the hundreds more who will die before someone finally listens, if anyone ever does. He opens his journal, writes one sentence, November 1943. I predict we will lose between 10,000 and 13,000 pilots in 1944. This prediction will be accurate, and I will be powerless to prevent it. He closes the journal, returns it to the locked drawer. Outside, night settles over the airfield. Tomorrow, more missions, more losses, more letters to write. The mathematics continue. Grinding, relentless, inevitable. February 20th, 1944. 0547 hours. Briefing room Schwader 26. Victor stands before 43 pilots. His age 32. The pilot's average age 21.3. Their average flight experience 72 hours. Their average combat missions 4.1. Children. He is sending children to die. Gentlemen, American intelligence indicates Operation Argument has commenced. Maximum effort. Over 1,000 heavy bombers will target German aircraft production facilities across the Reich. Today's primary targets, Leipzig and Brunswick. Fighter escort will exceed 800 aircraft. P-47s, P-51 Mustangs, P-38 Lightnings. He pauses, watches their faces. Some show fear, most show nothing. Too inexperienced to understand what those numbers mean. We will scramble 38 Bf-109Gs. Our intercept point, 26,000 feet, 40 kilometers west of Leipzig. Time on station, 14 minutes. Fuel margin, 23 minutes. That is your window. 14 minutes of combat, then you must disengage or you will not have fuel to return. A hand raises. Oberleutnant Caspar Reinhardt, 19 years old. 3 kills, 58 hours, total flight time, 41 hours in the Bf-109. Herr General Major, what if we encounter the escorts before reaching the bombers? Victor looks at him, this boy who should be in university. Not strapping into a fighter to face 800 to 1 odds. Then you survive, you do not engage, you evade, you preserve your aircraft and your life for another mission. The goal is not to be heroes. The goal is to inflict maximum damage on the enemy while suffering minimum losses ourselves. Clear, Jawohl, Herr General Major. Victor knows this speech is a lie. There will be no minimum losses today. The Americans are coming with overwhelming force. This is not a raid. This is annihilation. Wheels up in 30 minutes, pilots to aircraft. They file out. Victor watches them go, counts them. 43. By tonight, he estimates 30 will return, maybe fewer. The mathematics have become predictive, reliable, like gravity. 0641 hours. 26,000 feet. Temperature minus 47 degrees Fahrenheit. Victor's formation climbs through broken clouds. 38 Bf-109G6s. Below them, the German countryside spreads white with February snow. Above them, clear blue sky, and in that clear blue sky, the enemy. Victor sees them at 15 kilometers, black dots against blue, hundreds of them. The bomber stream, a river of B-17s stretching from horizon to horizon, 300 aircraft, maybe more. And above the bombers, higher still, the glints of sunlight on metal. The escorts, P-47 Thunderbolts, P-51 Mustangs, swarming, waiting. Victor broadcasts, all aircraft enemy, sighted. Bomber stream, bearing 095. Altitude 26,000. Escorts visible at 32,000. Prepare to engage. His hands are steady on the stick. His breathing controlled. 15 years of combat have taught him to suppress fear, to focus on geometry, on velocity, on the calculus of survival. Altitude 26,000 feet. Fuel remaining 51 minutes. Distance to base 72 miles. Speed 260 miles per hour. Time needed to return 16.6 minutes. Combat window 34.4 minutes. Acceptable. All aircraft attack from forward quarter. Target selection free. Disengage on my command. Execute. Victor rolls inverted, pulls through. The formation follows. 38 fighters diving toward the bomber stream. The Americans see them coming. Of course they do. Radar, ground observers, experience. 60 P-47s peel off from high station. Begin their own debile and intercepting. Victor calculates instantly. The P-47s are at 32,000 feet, 6,000 feet above, diving at approximately 400 miles per hour. His fighters are at 25,000 feet. Climbing dive speed, 340 miles per hour. Distance, 8,000 meters. Closure rate, 740 miles per hour. Time to contact, 21 seconds. Not enough time to reach the bombers and attack before the escorts arrive. All aircraft aboard attack Thunderbolts inbound. Brake on my mark, 3, 2, 1. Brake, Victor pulls hard left. Maximum G. His vision grays. The anti-G suit inflates around his legs. The formation scatters. 38 fighters braking in all directions. Defensive, reactive. The P-47s tear through the space where the formation had been. Guns blazing. 8 streams of 50 caliber Traers from each fighter. 480 streams total. A curtain of lead. 3 Bf-109s don't turn fast enough. Victor sees the impacts. Sparking hits. Pieces flying. One 109's canopy shatters. The pilot slumps forward. The aircraft noses over into an uncontrolled dive. Another 109's left wing folds upward. Structural failure. The aircraft tumbles. Spiraling. Fragmenting. No parachute. The third 109 trails white glycol smoke. Coolant system hit. The pilot has maybe 90 seconds before the engine seizes. 3 fighters. Gone. In 4 seconds. Victor's radio fills with voices. Panic, confusion, fear. I can't shake him. Help someone, help. My engine's hit. I'm losing power. He transmits, all aircraft go defensive. Dive if engaged. Do not attempt to turn with them. Heading 270. Regroup at Angels 15. Angels 15. 15,000 feet. Victor checks his 6. Clear. He rolls into a split S. Inverted. Pulls through. Diving. Behind him the sky fills with smoke trails. Falling aircraft. Parachutes. This isn't combat, this is slaughter. He levels at 15,000 feet. Scans for his fighters. Counts them visually. 29. 30. 31. 32. 6 missing. From the initial attack that lasted less than 30 seconds, the P-47s are climbing back to altitude. Resuming escort station. They don't pursue. Don't need to. They've broken the attack. Protected the bombers. Mission accomplished. Victor checks his fuel. 37 minutes remaining, enough to return. He transmits all aircraft RTB, heading 265, maintain formation. Return to base. The mission is over, failed. The bomber stream continues east, untouched, unstoppable, carrying 4,000 tons of high explosive toward German factories. Victor watches them go. 300 aircraft, each one proof that Weber was wrong, that ideology cannot overcome industrial capacity, that reality follows its own rules. February 22nd, 1944, day 3 of Big Week, 12:03 hours, 28,000 feet and above Brunswick. Victor has flown 4 missions in 3 days, 41 combat hours. He is exhausted. His pilots are exhausted. The entire Jagdgeschwader is exhausted. Losses so far: 19 aircraft destroyed, 14 pilots killed, 3 captured, 2 missing. From a starting strength of 43 aircraft, 44% casualties. In 72 hours, today's mission intercept 290 B-17s targeting Brunswick. Escort 140 P-47s, 90 P-51 Mustangs. Victor's available fighters 24. From an original strength of 43. He leads them toward the bomber stream, knows what will happen, has seen it 3 times already. They will attempt to attack. The escorts will intercept. His fighters will scatter. Some will die. The bombers will continue. The pattern is established, unchangeable. At 27,000 feet, he sees them. The bombers below, the escorts above, and diving toward his formation. 16 P-47 Thunderbolts. Victor's reaction is automatic now, trained. All aircraft break defensive maneuvers. He pulls into a hard right turn, 6 Gs. Vision tunneling. A P-47 flashes past. Close. Its guns tracking. Firing. Victor hears the impacts. Metal tearing. Something hits his aircraft. Hard. Warning lights illuminate. Hydraulic pressure dropping. Aileron control sluggish. He's been hit. Victor checks his instruments. Oil pressure, normal. Coolant temperature to normal. Engine running smoothly. But the hydraulics are failing. Left aileron barely responding. Right aileron compensating. He can fly, but not fight, not effectively. His radio, "This is Reinhardt, I'm hit," controls her. The transmission cuts to static. Victor scans the sky. Sees a 109 trailing black smoke. Oil fire, the worst kind. The engine will explode in seconds. The canopy jettisons. A figure tumbles out. Parachute deploys. Oberleutnant Caspar Reinhardt, 19 years old. 3 kills. 58 hours flight experience. Shot down on his 4th combat mission. Victor counts his remaining fighters. 19 aircraft. 5 more missing. All aircraft disengage, RTB. I say again, RTB. He turns west, his damaged 109 responding sluggishly. The hydraulics failing further. Fuel 29 minutes. Distance to base 68 miles. Speed 220 miles per hour. Time needed 18.5 minutes, margin 10.5 minutes. Tight, but manageable, if nothing else fails. The flight back is lonely. Victor's formation scattered, each pilot finding his own way home. No formation, no tactics, just survival. He lands at 12:47 hours. The 109 touches down hard. Left brake barely functional. He uses right brake and rudder to maintain directional control. Shutdown. Victor climbs out, his legs trembling. Adrenaline crash. The ground crew chief approaches. Obergefreiter Schmidt looks at the aircraft. His face goes white. "Herr Generalmajor." Victor turns, sees what Schmidt sees. 37 holes, 50 caliber, scattered across the left wing fuselage and tail. One round had passed 6 inches from the cockpit, through the space where Victor's head had been 2 seconds earlier. Another round had punctured the left wing fuel tank. Miraculously, it hadn't ignited. A third round had severed the hydraulic line to the left aileron. Only that line. If it had cut the right line too, Victor would have had no control, would have crashed. He stands there, looking at 37 ways he should have died. Schmidt's voice is quiet. Sir, you should be dead. Victor nods. Yes, I should. That evening, he writes in his journal. February 22nd, 1944. Day 3 of Big Week. We have lost 24 aircraft. 19 pilots killed or missing. From an initial strength of 43, 56% casualties. In 3 days, I was nearly killed today. 37 hits. Any one of them could have been fatal. Chance favored me. This time, young Reinhardt was shot down, 19 years old. 3 kills, parachuted safely. He will be a prisoner, one of the lucky ones. Weber still refuses to listen, still believes ideology can overcome what's real, still sends us to against impossible odds. I know what happens next. More missions, more losses, more letters to families. The numbers continue. Relentless, inevitable. February 25th, 1944. Final day of Big Week. 1934 hours. Victor's office. On his desk, the casualty reports. 6 days of Operation Argument. Luftwaffe losses. Western Front aircraft destroyed, 355. Bombers destroyed, 102. Total 457 aircraft. Pilots killed, 262. Pilots wounded, 78. Pilots missing, captured, 41. Total 381 aircrew casualties. Victor picks up a pen, writes on a clean sheet of paper. American losses. Big Week bombers, 226 fighters, 28. Total 254 aircraft. German losses, 457 aircraft. Ratio 1.8 to 1 in favor of Americans. But that's not the critical number. American aircraft production, February 1944, approximately 200 fighters, 1,800 bombers. Replacement time for Big Week losses, 3.6 days. German aircraft production, February 1944, approximately 1,200 fighters, 400 bombers. Disrupted by Allied bombing, replacement time for Big Week losses, 11.4 days. The Americans can absorb these losses. We cannot. He sets down the pen, looks at the numbers. The mathematics are screaming now. Not whispering, not suggesting, screaming absolute certainty. Germany is losing. Will lose. The trajectory is set. The outcome inevitable. Unless someone listens. Victor picks up the phone. Dials Berlin. Reichsmarschall Weber's office. The connection takes 3 minutes. Finally a voice. Oberst Mannheim, Reichsmarschall's office. This is General Major Hartmann. I need to brief the Reichsmarschall on Big Week casualties. The situation is critical. We've lost. General Major, the Reichsmarschall is aware of the casualties. He considers them acceptable given the intensity of enemy operations. No briefing necessary. Acceptable, we lost 381 pilots. The Reichsmarschall's position is clear. Losses are within projected parameters. Pilot quality and fighting spirit will compensate. This matter is closed. Heil Hitler. Click. Victor stares at the dead phone. Acceptable. 381 men. Acceptable. He opens his desk drawer, retrieves his journal, writes February 25th, 1944. Big Week is over. We lost 381 aircrew. Weber calls it acceptable. I wrote my prediction in November. 10,000, 13,000 pilots will die in 1944. Big Week alone, 262 killed in 6 days. Extrapolated, 913 killed in a full year at this rate. My prediction may be conservative. They still won't listen, still won't change tactics, still won't accept what's happening. I know what comes next. The losses will accelerate. New pilots will arrive with even less training. The quality gap will widen, and I will watch it happen. Powerless, because speaking truth in this regime is considered betrayal. November 12th, 1944, 2130 hours. A farmhouse 20 kilometers from Berlin. 11 men sit around a wooden table. Fighter commanders, wing leaders, the best Germany has left. Victor, age 32, is the youngest. The oldest is 41. Combined kills over 900. Combined frustration. Infinite. Major Gunther Rahl speaks first. Age 32. 275 kills. Gentlemen, we all know why we're here. The Luftwaffe is being destroyed. Not by enemy skill, by our own leadership's incompetence. Nods around the table. Colonel Johannes Steinhoff, 31 years old, 176 kills. Losses August through October, 6,400 aircraft, 4,900 pilots. This is systematic destruction. Our own leaders are causing this. More nods. Victor opens his briefcase, removes a document, places it on the table. I have drafted a letter to Reichsmarshal Weber, demanding his resignation. Silence. Someone whispers, that's treason. Victor looks at him. No, treason is sending undertrained pilots to die while refusing to acknowledge why. Treason is lying to the German people about the state of the war. Treason is caring more about ideology than the lives of your men. He slides the letter across the table. Read it. If you agree, sign it. If not, leave now. There will be no judgment. One by one they read. No one leaves. The letter is blunt, detailed, damning. Reichsmarshal Weber. We, the undersigned fighter commanders, formally request your immediate resignation from command of the Luftwaffe. Basis for this request. 1. Pilot losses, January-October 1944, 11,429 killed or missing. This represents 93% of the total pilot strength available on January 1st, 1944. 2. Training standards have collapsed. Replacement pilots arrive with an average of 48 hours flight time. This is not military necessity. This is negligent homicide. 3. Tactical doctrine remains unchanged despite clear evidence of its failure. Losses continue to accelerate. 4. Your refusal to accept intelligence regarding enemy capabilities has directly resulted in unnecessary casualties. 5. You have prioritized political ideology over military effectiveness. The Luftwaffe fighter force is on the verge of total collapse. Only immediate change in leadership can prevent complete annihilation. We make this request not from cowardice, but from duty. We have given everything for Germany. We demand leadership that values our lives as highly as we value our nation. 11 signatures. 11 careers ended. 11 men choosing truth over survival. Victor is the last to sign, his hand steady. They seal the letter. We'll deliver it tomorrow. To Weber's headquarters. In person. Outside, November rain falls. Cold. Bitter. The farmhouse is dark except for a single candle. 11 men, knowing what comes next, signing anyway, because silence is also a choice, and they can no longer remain silent. November 18th, 1944, 1400 hours. Karen Hall. Weber's estate. The 11 commanders stand in Weber's office. The letter on his desk, opened, read. Weber's face is the color of raw meat, purple, veins bulging. His hands tremble. Traitors. The word echoes off marble walls. Cowards, defeatists, you dare question my leadership. Victor stands at attention, calm. Herr Reichsmarschall, we question decisions that are killing our pilots unnecessarily. The statistics are, I don't care about your statistics. Weber heaves himself upright, 310 pounds of rage. You have failed, all of you. You lack the will to win. You lack fighting spirit. Gunther Rahl steps forward. Sir, we have lost 11,000 pilots this year. 1,000. Your refusal to adapt tactics. My tactics are perfect. The problem is you weak, incompetent. You dishonor the Luftwaffe. Victor's voice cuts through the screaming, quiet, cold. Herr Reichsmarschall, you are a liar and a coward. History will remember you as the man who destroyed the Luftwaffe through willful ignorance. The room goes silent. Weber stares at Victor, his mouth opening, closing, no words coming. Then guards arrest these men, all of them treason. They will face the firing squad. 4 SS guards enter, machine guns ready. Victor doesn't move, doesn't resist, just looks at Weber. We tried to save them, we failed, but the record will show we tried. The guards lead them out, through gilded halls, past stolen art, past the monuments to Weber's corruption. Outside, trucks wait. The 11 commanders are loaded aboard, driven to detention facilities. Victor's career is over. He knows this, accepts it. Better to die for speaking truth than to live enabling lies. November 19th, 1944, January 31st, 1945. House arrest, Victor's quarters, 74 days. Victor is confined to his apartment in Berlin, forbidden from leaving, forbidden from flying, forbidden from contact with other officers. He is allowed radio, newspapers, official casualty lists. Every day he records the numbers. November 1st, 47 pilots killed or missing. December 2nd, 91 pilots killed or missing. January, partial 1, 203 pilots killed or missing. Running total since January 1st, 1944, 127 pilots. His prediction, 10,000 to 13,000. Actual, 1,327. Margin of error, 1.2%. Victor sits in his apartment, listening to the casualty reports, watching his prophecy come true. Number by number, death by death. Each name a man who deserved better leadership. Each statistic a family destroyed. He writes in his journal every day. December 18th, 1944. Casualties this month have reached 1,634. The prediction continues tracking. I was right. I wish I had been wrong. December 31st, 1944. Year-end totals 1,127 pilots killed or missing. I predicted 10,000, 13,000 in November 1943. The numbers were correct. Reality doesn't bend to ideology. January 15, 1945, I am in prison while my men die. Every day the radio announces more losses. Every day proves I was right. Every day I remain powerless to change anything. This is my punishment. Not the arrest, not the confinement. The punishment is being proven correct while unable to save anyone. On February 1st, 1945, the door opens. An officer enters. General Major Hartmann, you are to report to Fighter Command. You will take command of Jagdverband 44, effective immediately. Victor looks up. Reichsmarshal's orders. The unit will be equipped with Me-262 jet fighters. Your technical expertise is required. Victor understands. This isn't forgiveness. This is desperation. The war is lost. Germany is collapsing. Weber is grasping at miracle weapons. Too little, too late. But Victor will fly anyway. Because pilots need leadership. Because someone has to trust him. He packs his journal, his reports, his predictions, all of them proven correct. None of them acted upon. March 18th, 1945. 1312 hours. 34,000 feet above Munich. Victor flies an Me-262 A-11A Schwalbe. Swallow. The world's first operational jet fighter. Power plant 2 Junkers. Jumo 004B, axial flow turbojets. 1,980 pounds thrust each. 3,960 pounds combined. Maximum speed, 540 miles per hour. 100 miles per hour faster than any Allied fighter. Armament 4, Mk-108 30mm cannons. 360 rounds total, each shell weighing 12 ounces, each capable of destroying a bomber with a single hit. Victor is 33 years old. This is the most advanced aircraft he has ever flown. And it's meaningless. Below him, 1,200 B-17 bombers, 850 P-51 Mustang escorts. Victor's forced 6 Me-262s, 6 jets against 2,050 aircraft. The numbers are absurd. He transmits all aircraft targets selection free, single pass only. Do not engage escorts. Execute. The Me-262s dive. Not fast by jet standards. The engines need time to spool up, but still faster than anything the Allies can field. Victor's target, a B-17 in the lead element, range 2,000 meters, closing at 680 miles per hour, 1,500 meters, 1,000 meters. The bomber's gunners see him. Open fire. Tracers arc outward, but Victor is closing too fast. The gunners can't track him. 700 meters, 500 meters. Victor's thumb finds the firing button. All 4 Mk-108 cannons fire. The recoil slows the jet noticeably. 30mm shells arc toward the B-17. Hits. The bomber's right wing. Explosions. Massive. 30mm high explosive. The wing separates. The bomber tumbles, breaking apart. No parachutes. 300 meters. Victor pulls up. Zooms. The Me-262 climbs vertically. 3,000 feet in 5 seconds. Below him, the bomber stream continues. 1,199 bombers. Untouched. 2 more Me-262s make their passes. 2 more bombers destroyed. Then the engines on Victor's jet start acting up. Number 2 turbine. Temperature spiking. Thrust fluctuating. He checks the gauges. The Jumo 004 is unreliable. Mean time between failures, 25 hours. This engine has 32 hours. He's on borrowed time. All aircraft disengage. RTB, number 2 engine failing. The Me-262s turn for home. 6 jets, 3 bombers destroyed. Statistical irrelevance. Victor knows this, has known it since February. The Me-262 is a magnificent aircraft, but Germany doesn't have fuel to fly it, doesn't have spare parts to maintain it, Doesn't have time to produce it in meaningful numbers. The war is over. The mathematics settled it months ago. Everything now is just dying slowly. April 26, 1945, 15:34 hours. Victor's final mission. 1 Me-262, 18 B-26 Marauder medium bombers, 12 P-47 escorts. Target the airfield at Munich-Riem, his own base. Victor takes off, his jet against 30 aircraft. Absurd, suicidal, necessary. He climbs to 27,000 feet, dives on the bomber formation. The P-47s see him. 4 peel off. Intercept course. Victor ignores them. Focuses on the bombers. Range 1,000 meters. He fires. All 4 cannons, 60 rounds, half his remaining ammunition. 1 B-26 explodes. Direct hit. 30-millimeter shells in the bomb bay. The P-47s are closing. 8 50 caliber guns each. 32 guns total. Converging. Victor brakes hard. The Me-262 turns, slower than the P-47s expect. The jet's engines lag. Thrust response is delayed. The P-47s overshoot. Victor zooms, climbs away, his fuel. 11 minutes remaining. Distance to base 43 miles. Speed 420 miles per hour. Time needed 6.1 minutes. Margin 4.9 minutes. Acceptable. He turns toward Munich, lines up on the runway. Begins his descent. At 2,000 feet, he sees the craters. The airfield has been bombed. The runway is destroyed. No place to land. Victor transmits, Munich Tower, this is Hartmann, runway status. Hartmann runway is unusable. Recommend divert to Ainring. Ainring, 48 miles south. Fuel remaining 7 minutes. Distance, 48 miles. Speed, 420. Time needed 6.8 minutes. Margin 0.2 minutes. 12 seconds. If nothing goes wrong. If fuel consumption remains constant. If winds are favorable. Victor turns south. Throttles back slightly, conserving fuel. Below him the Autobahn, the highway, clear of traffic. War has emptied the roads. At 2,000 feet, his number 2 engine flames out. Fuel starvation. At 1,000 feet, his number 1 engine quits. Quits. Fuel tanks empty. Victor is gliding. A jet aircraft, no propeller, no engine, just momentum and aerodynamics. He spots a straight section of Autobahn. 2 lanes. Clear. He lines up. Flares. The Me-262 touches down at 180 miles per hour. Too fast, but he has no choice. The tail strikes pavement. Sparks. The jet skids, slows, stops. Victor shuts down systems. Climbs out, looks at his aircraft. Tail section damaged. Both engines destroyed. Fuel tanks empty. The war's most advanced fighter. Now junk on a highway. He sits on the wing. 33 years old, 107 kills, 15 years of combat, and the war is over. Lost. The mathematics won. Just as he predicted. Around him, Germany is collapsing. The Soviets are in Berlin. The Americans are 40 miles west. The Reich has days left, maybe hours. Victor sits there, watching the sun set, thinking about all the pilots who died, all the warnings ignored, all the numbers that screamed the truth while leadership denied what was real. He thinks about Weber, wonders if the Reichsmarshal finally understands, if he sees the ruins and accepts his role in creating them. Probably not. Ideology is too strong, even now. Victor stands, begins walking west, toward the American lines. The war is over. Time to surrender. Time to tell the truth to people who might listen. May 8th, 1945, 11:27 hours. Germany surrenders. Victor is in American custody. Kaufbeuren Interrogation Center, Southern Germany. He sits across a desk from Colonel Nathaniel Bradford, U.S. Army Air Forces Intelligence, 42 years old, former bomber pilot, 200 missions over Europe. General Major Hartmann, your records indicate you commanded fighter forces and wrote several reports warning about the effectiveness of Allied aircraft, particularly the P-47 Thunderbolt. Is that correct? Yes. And these warnings were ignored, dismissed as defeatist propaganda. Bradford opens a folder, reads. His eyebrows rise. You predicted, in November 1943, that Germany would lose 10,000 to 13,000 pilots in 1944. Correct. And the actual number, 13,247, as of April 30th, 1945. Bradford stares at him. How did you know? Simple mathematics, loss rates multiplied by projected operations tempo, adjusted for declining training quality and increasing Allied numerical superiority. Basic calculus. But Weber, your high command, they didn't believe you. Victor's laugh is bitter. Colonel, in a totalitarian system, truth is considered betrayal. Weber believed in German superiority with religious fervor. Any evidence contradicting that belief was rejected. The Americans were supposed to be inferior. Therefore, anything you built had to be inferior. Circular reasoning, immune to evidence. Bradford writes notes. Tell me about the P-47, your assessment. One of the finest fighters of the war. At altitude, it was superior to anything we fielded. The turbocharged engine gave it overwhelming power advantage above 20,000 feet. Structural strength allowed dives we couldn't match. Armament was devastating. And production numbers. Victor shakes his head. 15,636 built. We never had a chance. Why didn't your leadership adapt tactics? They did, eventually. Too late. By mid-1904, we were avoiding escorts entirely. But the damage was done. We'd lost our experienced pilots. Replacements were undertrained. The quality gap became insurmountable. Bradford closes his folder, looks at Victor, man to man, pilot to pilot. For what it's worth, General Major, you tried. Your warnings were correct. If Weber had listened, thousands would have lived. But he didn't listen, couldn't listen, and they died. That's the record. Bradford nods, stands, offers his hand. Victor takes it. Two pilots, former enemies, united by respect for what's real and contempt for ideology. You'll be released within 2 years, Bradford says, after denazification processing. No war crimes attributed to you. Your record is clean. Thank you, Colonel. No, thank you for documenting the truth, for trying. That took courage. Victor returns to his cell, lies on the cot, thinks about the 11,000 pilots, the numbers that predicted their deaths, the warnings that went unheeded. He pulls out his journal, writes the final combat entry. May 8, 1945, the war is over. Germany has surrendered. The final statistics, Luftwaffe pilot casualties, 1944, 13, 247, KIA, MIA. My prediction, November 1943, 10,000, 13,000. Accuracy, 98.8%. I was right. I wish I had been wrong. They deserved better leadership, better tactics, better honesty. Instead, they got ideology, denial, death. The P-47 Thunderbolt destroyed us, not because it was unbeatable, but because we refused to adapt to it. Reality follows its own rules. Mathematics doesn't bend to belief. Truth always wins. Always. He closes the journal. The war is over. The reckoning is complete. Now comes the long peace and the longer remembering, epilogue. The Legacy, 1947-1996. August 12th, 1947. Landsberg Prison, Bavaria. Victor Adolwolf Hartmann, age 35. Released after 2 years and 3 months in Allied custody. He walks through the prison gates, carrying one small bag. Inside his journal, his reports, his predictions, everything he documented, everything he tried to warn them about. His wife died in 1945, killed in a bombing raid on Berlin. His daughter, now 12, lives with his sister in Hamburg. Victor has nothing. No home, no career, no future in the military. Germany is rubble. 60 million dead across Europe. Cities destroyed. An entire generation lost. And for what, Victor takes a train to Hamburg, finds his daughter. She barely recognizes him. He's aged 20 years and 2. They don't talk about the war. Not yet. Maybe never. He finds work as an aviation consultant. American and British firms want German technical expertise. Want to understand the Me-262, the rocket planes, the advanced designs that came too late. Victor provides data, technical specifications, performance analysis. He never mentions the warnings, the predictions, the deaths he foresaw, 1953 and 1970. Quiet years. Victor works, raises his daughter, attends reunions of the old fighter pilots, the survivors. There aren't many. They don't talk about the war either. Not the details. The pain is too fresh. He refuses to write a memoir. Publishers offer money, lots of money. He declines. I documented what mattered, he tells them, in my reports. That's enough. His reports remain classified, in American archives, in British files, forgotten. 1975, age 63. A historian contacts Victor, Dr. James Caldwell, writing a book about the air war over Europe. General Major Hartman, I've found your reports in the U.S. National Archives. Your predictions about the P-47, about pilot losses, they were accurate within 2%. Why didn't anyone listen? Victor is silent for a long time. Then, because truth is inconvenient, especially when it contradicts what you want to believe. Caldwell interviews him for 3 days, records everything. Victor speaks carefully, precisely. No emotion, just facts. The P-47 Thunderbolt was one of the finest fighters of World War II. At high altitude, it was superior to anything Germany produced. We recognized this in May 1943. We reported it. We were ignored. White ideology. Reichsmarschall Weber believed German engineering was inherently superior. Any evidence to the contrary was dismissed as propaganda. He couldn't accept that Americans whom he viewed as racially inferior could build better aircraft. And the predictions, the casualty numbers? Mathematics, loss rates extrapolated forward, training quality declining, enemy numbers increasing. The trajectory was clear. 13,000 pilots would die in 1944. They did, exactly as predicted. You tried to prevent it. I tried to document it. Prevention was beyond my authority. I was a general. But Weber answered only to Hitler. And Hitler lived in a fantasy world. The interview is published in 1907, the prophet of the Luftwaffe, Victor Hartmann's unheeded warnings. It wins academic awards. Sells poorly. The public isn't interested in German generals, even prophetic ones. 1982, age 70. Victor receives a letter from Colonel Nathaniel Bradford, now retired, living in Virginia. Dear Victor, I hope this finds you well. I'm writing because I've been thinking about our conversation in 1940, about your predictions, about Weber's refusal to listen. I teach at the Air Force Academy now. I use your reports as case studies. Organizational failure to accept evidence. The cadets are fascinated, horrified. Would you consider coming to speak? We would pay all expenses. I think the future officers of the American Air Force should hear from someone who tried to inject reality into a system that refused it. You tried to save them, Victor. That matters. Respectfully, Nathaniel Bradford. Victor declines, politely. I'm too old for travel, and I said everything that mattered in 1943. No one listened then. I doubt they'll listen better now. But he's wrong about that. 1985 to 1990, the reconciliation years. Victor begins attending international conferences. Former Luftwaffe pilots meeting former Allied pilots. The animosity has faded. Time and age have a way of doing that. At a conference in London, Victor meets a man named Robert Mitchell, age 67, former P-47 pilot, 56th Fighter Group, 18 kills. General Major Hartman. Just Victor now, the ranks don't mean much anymore. Robert Mitchell, I flew P-47s, probably shot at you a few times. Probably, they sit, talk, share stories. Your bird was a magnificent piece of engineering, Victor says. The R-2800 engine, the turbocharger. Brilliant design. We called it the Jug, thought it was ugly. Ugly, but deadly. 850 caliber guns, structural strength that could take hits that would shred our fighters. And the dive performance. Victor shakes his head. We couldn't match it. Why didn't your command adapt? They did, too late, and not enough. Ideology got in the way. Mitchell is quiet for a moment. How many did you lose? 13,247 pilots in 1944 alone. Jesus Christ. I predicted it, November 1943. Wrote a report, predicted between 10,000 and 13,000 casualties. My superiors called it defeatist propaganda. But you were right. Yes, I was right. Didn't save anyone. Mitchell extends his hand. Victor takes it. We weren't enemies, Mitchell says. We were both just pilots, doing what we were told. Some of us tried to change what we were told. And that matters. It always matters. They remain friends, correspond regularly. Victor visits Mitchell in America in 1987. Mitchell visits Victor in Germany in 1980. Two old men, former enemies, united by respect for competence and contempt for those who waste lives through willful ignorance. November 1991, age 79. A film crew contacts Victor, documentary about the air war. They want to interview him. Victor is reluctant, but his daughter, now 58 with grandchildren of her own, convinces him. Tell the story, Father, not for yourself, for them, for the ones who died. The interview takes place in Victor's small apartment in Hamburg. The interviewer is young, 29, knows nothing about the war except what he's read in books. General Major Hartmann, you predicted the destruction of the Luftwaffe with remarkable accuracy. How did you know? Victor looks at the camera, sees the red light, knows this will be recorded, preserved. He chooses his words carefully. I didn't predict anything mystical. I observed loss rates, calculated trends, projected forward. Basic mathematics. A first-year engineering student could have done it. But Reichsmarshal Weber didn't believe your calculations. Weber believed in German superiority. He believed ideology could overcome industrial capacity. He believed willpower could defeat physics. He was wrong. Reality doesn't care what you believe. Do you think about the pilots who died? Silence. Long silence. Every day, 13,247 men. I knew it was going to happen. Documented it, couldn't prevent it. That's the burden I carry. Do you blame yourself? I blame the system that valued ideology over truth. I blame leaders who refused to accept evidence. I blame everyone who remained silent when they should have spoken, including yourself, especially myself. I spoke, but not loudly enough, not publicly enough. I worked within the system, wrote reports, followed procedure. Maybe I should have done more. What more could you have done? I don't know, but 13,000 men died, so whatever I did wasn't enough. The interviewer asks his final question. What should people learn from your story? Victor looks directly into the camera. That truth matters, even when it's inconvenient, even when it contradicts what you want to believe. The P-47 Thunderbolt was a superior fighter. We knew it in May 1943. We documented it. We were ignored, and 13,000 men died because leadership chose ideology over reality. Reality always wins. Mathematics doesn't care about propaganda. Physics doesn't bend to political belief. And when you ignore truth, people die. That's the lesson, the only lesson. The documentary airs in '92, wins awards in Germany, barely shown elsewhere. 1990, age 83. Victor's health is declining. Heart problems. The doctors say he has maybe a year, maybe less. His daughter asks if he wants to write his memoirs now, before it's too late. No, everything important is already written, in my reports, in the journal. Let historians sort through it after I'm gone. You want them published. After I'm dead, not before. I don't want the attention, just the record. He makes arrangements. His journal and reports will be donated to the Bundesarchiv, the Federal Archives, with instructions to be made public upon his death. December 1995, age 83. Nathaniel Bradford dies. Heart attack. Victor attends the funeral in Virginia, against his doctor's orders. At the service, Victor meets Bradford's children, his grandchildren. Your father was a good man, Victor tells them, one of the few who understood. Understood what? That truth matters, that speaking up matters, even when no one listens. Bradford's daughter gives Victor an envelope. He left this for you. Said to give it to you when he died. Victor opens it, inside a letter. Victor, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. I was getting tired anyway. I wanted you to know I've been using your reports at the Academy for 20 years. Thousands of cadets have studied them, learned from them. Your warnings didn't save the men who died in 1944, but they've saved countless others since. Every officer who reads your story learns this. Speak truth to power. Accept evidence. Adapt to reality. Ideology kills. You tried to save them. You couldn't, but you documented the truth. And that truth has echoed forward through generations. Thank you for that. Thank you for trying. Your friend Nathaniel Victor stands at Bradford's grave, reads the letter 3 times, folds it carefully, puts it in his pocket. He doesn't cry. He's 83. Crying doesn't change anything, but he's grateful for the friendship, for someone who understood. January 17th, 1996. Hamburg, 0347 hours. Victor Adolwolf Hartmann dies in his sleep, age 84, heart failure, peaceful. His daughter finds him in the morning. He looks serene, finally at rest. On his bedside table, his journal, closed. Next to it, a note in his handwriting. For the historians, I predicted 13,000 pilots would die in 1944. Actual 13,247. I tried to prevent it. I failed. Learn from this. VH. 3 months later, April 96, the Bundesarchiv, Berlin. Victor's journal and reports are made public, exactly as he instructed. The response is immediate. International. Headlines in Germany. Luftwaffe general predicted disaster was ignored. In America, German fighter commanders' warnings proved accurate to within 2%. In Britain, the prophet of the Luftwaffe, Victor Hartmann's unheeded predictions. Historians descend on the archives, photocopy everything, translate, analyze. The reports are astonishing, precise, detailed, prophetic. May 17, 1943, first encounter with P-47. Technical analysis. Warning about high-altitude superiority. June 8, 1943, meeting with Weber. Request for tactical revision. Denied. August 15, 1943. Second report. Training decline documented. Kill ratio analysis. Recommendation for defensive posture. Ignored. November 1943, the prophecy. 10,000 to 13,000 pilots will die in 1944. And then month by month through 1944, Victor tracking the deaths, recording the numbers, watching his prediction come true. December 31st, 1944, running total 13,127, prediction accurate, leadership still denies reality. The final entry, May 8th, 1945, final count 13,247, accuracy 98.8%. I was right. I wish I had been wrong. Military academies around the world add Victor's case to their curriculum. U.S. Air Force Academy, organizational failure to accept evidence. Royal Air Force College, Cranwell, the costs of ideological leadership. Bundeswehr, Command and Staff College, speaking truth in authoritarian systems. Victor becomes a case study, a cautionary tale, a reminder. June 1996, fighter pilot reunion. Former Luftwaffe and Allied pilots. London, a moment of silence for Victor Hartmann. Robert Mitchell, now 78, speaks. Victor was my enemy, then he was my friend. But most importantly, he was a man who tried to save lives by speaking truth. In a system where truth was considered treason, he spoke anyway. That took courage most of us will never need and can barely imagine. He predicted 13,000 deaths. He was right. He couldn't prevent them. But he documented why they happened, and that documentation has saved countless lives since. Military organizations around the world study Victor's reports. They teach officers accept evidence, adapt to reality, speak up when you see disaster coming, even if it costs you. Victor tried, he failed, but his failure teaches success to every generation that follows. Rest in peace, my friend. You did what you could. September 1996. Publication of Prophecies of a Fighter Pilot. The complete reports of Victor Otto Wolf Hartmann. The book is 600 pages. Victor's reports, his journal entries, historical analysis, technical appendices. It becomes a bestseller in Germany, translated into 17 languages. The introduction is written by Dr. James Caldwell. The historian who interviewed Victor in 1975, Victor Hartmann was not a prophet. He was an analyst. He observed. He calculated. He projected. His predictions about pilot casualties in 1944 were accurate to within 1.2%, not through mysticism, through mathematics. He warned his superiors, repeatedly, desperately. They ignored him, not because his analysis was wrong, but because it contradicted their ideology. This is the story of what happens when power refuses truth, when belief overrides evidence, when ideology supersedes reality. 13,247 pilots died in 1944. Victor predicted it in November 1943. He tried to prevent it. He failed. But his failure teaches the most important lesson in military history. Reality always wins. Truth always matters. And speaking up always counts, even when no one listens. December 2000, the United States Air Force Museum. Dayton, Ohio, a new exhibit opens. The Air War over Europe, 1942-1945 centerpiece. A restored P-47 Thunderbolt. Serial number 428205. Bonnie flew 93 combat missions, shot down 11 German fighters, survived the war. Next to it in a glass case, Victor Hartmann's report from May 17, 1943. The placard reads, on May 17, 1943, German fighter general Victor Adolf Wolf Hartmann encountered a P-47 Thunderbolt in combat. He immediately recognized its superiority and wrote a detailed technical report warning that the P-47 represented a fundamental threat to Luftwaffe operations. His warning was dismissed as defeatist propaganda. In November 1943, Hartmann predicted that Germany would lose 10,000 13,000 pilots in 1944 if tactics did not change. Actual losses, 13,247 pilots. Hartmann's reports are now studied at military academies worldwide as examples of the importance of accepting evidence and adapting to reality and speaking truth to power. The P-47 Thunderbolt proved to be one of the most effective fighter aircraft of World War II. Over 15 636 were produced. They achieved a kill ratio of 4.61 against Luftwaffe fighters. Hartmann was right. His warnings were ignored, and the 13,247 pilots paid the price. Visitors stand before the exhibit, read the placard, look at the P-47. Some take photos. Some read Victor's report through the glass. Some just stand silently, understanding, finally understanding. That war is mathematics, that technology matters, that truth matters, that speaking up matters, even when no one listens, especially when no one listens. Final reflection. Victor Adolwolf Hartmann died in 1996, age 84, having lived long enough to see his predictions vindicated, his warnings validated, his truth acknowledged, but not long enough to see the men he tried to save. They died in 13,247 pilots, each one a father, a son, a brother, a husband, each one predicted by mathematics, documented by Victor, ignored by Weber. The P-47 Thunderbolt destroyed the Luftwaffe, not because it was unstoppable, but because Germany refused to adapt to it. Ideology triumphed over evidence, until reality reasserted itself, as it always does. Victor spent 50 years carrying the weight of being right, of knowing he could have prevented it. If only someone had listened. He documented everything, preserved the record, left it for future generations. Not as vindication, but as warning. Reality follows its own rules. Mathematics doesn't bend to belief. Physics doesn't care about ideology. And truth always wins. Always. The end.